कौन છે?
Actually, જે કામ કેત ને એનો ડેટા અત્યારે મારે ભેગો નથી.
Hello.
All right. Hey, Samir, how is it going?
Hey, hi guys.
Voice is echoing a little bit.
My voice is echoing, is it?
No, I think it's good.
It should be good.
Okay.
People yet to join?
Shaival, can you hear us?
Yeah. Are we connected? No. Are we connected?
Yeah, we're all good. So thank you everyone for joining in, and at the backdrop of Shaival is here. All right. So thank you everyone for joining in at the backdrop of a larger open acceleration program that LegalWiz and ECHI are doing together, called the Startup Code. We conduct a lot of different sessions on regular basis for growing and scaling the businesses, typically taking people from their journey from 0 to 1 and beyond. So this is yet another session which kind of focuses on selling on Amazon, and it is going to be hopefully a great session. This is a very closed door event, so purposefully we have kind of kept it that way so we can engage more in conversation with people, ask relevant questions as you have. Feel free to put the questions on chat, and I'll be trying to sort of moderate the information. We have today as our speaker, we have Shaival Choksi, who specializes in selling on Amazon. Shaival runs a company called Your Seller, which only apparently does Amazon selling and does it for global brands. So some of the great brands that he's been working on is like Noritaki, Casemate, are a few that I know of. So comes with a very hands-on experience, in terms of scaling on Amazon, and I think it'll be a great session where we would be able to take some notes. Samir is also here. Samir has scaled up his business in dropshipping and Amazon selling, so definitely will be leveraging his expertise within the session. And guys, feel free to add notes, comments. We want to make it very interactive. So if you have any questions, definitely put that in chat. I'll be constantly monitoring that, and then I can invite you on stage. Just as a brief note, if you would get an invite to come on stage, you would need to have your video and mic on, and that is how you'll appear on the screen. So just to kind of keep that relevance going, just keep that in mind. With that, Shaival, do we start today's session? I think first half an hour, we will try to kind of go through some of the basics and some tricks and tips that you see how 2024 is trending for Amazon sellers, and some hidden gems that you can share that you would otherwise share with your clients on non-paid basis, I guess, for the lack of better words. But yeah, we get started with that. Shaival, the stage is all yours, and then we'll dive into the questions after that.
Thank you so much for the quick introduction, Srijay. Appreciate you guys calling me here and kind of setting this up for doing this. Nice to meet you, Samir, also. Just got to know that you are also an Amazon seller and you have kind of made headway in a lot of ways into drop shipping and into Amazon. So would love to learn more from you too. This
Right.
is, yeah, just to give a little introduction and kind of extending what just Srijay said. Your seller is basically an Amazon partner agency, and we basically help brands and sellers become profitable on Amazon. That is one of the major things that we kind of focus on. And just for the sake of this conversation, there were potentially like a ton of things that I could have covered uh, in this half an hour of presenting things, but I felt if it is focused, then it is better. So, with that said, let me move forward. So, the whole idea of this presentation is to focus on the 80-20 rule, where we only identify 20% of things that kind of have an 80% impact on how Amazon selling is supposed to happen. Shrija, can I control the PDF, or are you?
You can control that yourself. That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
that's easier that way.
perfect.
You're
So yeah,
able to navigate, right?
sorry.
You are able to navigate through the PPTs,
I
right?
am. Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So we go it hands on.
So it's basically the Pareto principle where we focus on 20% of things that have an 80% impact. I think it's basically how Amazon selling works. You can't basically control any and everything. You have to focus on the lowest hanging fruits and kind of see what kind of an impact that they drive. For the sake of this discussion, we will revolve around 5 areas, and none of these areas involve burning advertising money. Instead, it's about positioning the product or brand in a way that when you end up advertising your products, odds are that it will be successful and profitable. So, um, now this would mean that a few things that you might feel are important may not be a part of it. It will also mean that you're already doing some of it, but the idea is to do them collectively, which will create a snowball effect into positioning your products and brand better. With that said, let's dive right in. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about, which I feel is extremely important when it comes to selling on Amazon, is distribution. If your products are distributed well across the country, then you have a much better chance of marketing them, positioning them, and kind of making them successful. So there is a program within Amazon which is called IXD, for which you basically need to be registered across multiple states within the country, um, and make sure that your products are available to be delivered within a considerable timeline across the country. So the minimum requirement for getting into IXD is you should have a home state registration in terms of GST, and then there are other couple of states that you apply for from a GST registration standpoint and kind of get it done. Typically, what we recommend everyone that kind of we are associated with is to have at least presence in 4 or 5 states, and they are kind of spread out across the country. So you take a state in the northern zone, you take something in the east side of it, in the west, and then in the south. But these 4 or 5 states would basically allow you to really spread out your inventory. It will become a lot more consolidated in terms of how you manage your inventory, because Amazon will then get the access to move inventory from one state to other depending on where it feels it has the highest chance of selling. This is a program that they basically do in the US. Unfortunately, with GST registrations, they need to kind of have some regulatory stuff managed for this to happen, and that's the reason why uh, this is like basic 101. And this is the reason why I chose this as the number one thing to get started with, is because most people undermine the value that it basically brings to the table in how you can kind of make it bigger and better. So anyway, going further, the second part is basically product content. Now there are a lot of people. Uh, Shreya, I'm facing some issues with the PPT. I think when I click down or up, the slide changes.
Oh, okay. You can probably just use the clicker. So
Yeah. So okay. I think now, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, product content, again, very simple thing for everyone to understand. There are certain basics that you would cover obviously when you go about listing your product, which is your titles and your bullet points, your descriptions. When it comes to creatives, you would make sure that there are product images, you have A plus content, brand store, some videos to kind of describe the product that you're basically selling. Um, The thing though is there are certain not so basic things which people tend to ignore, and that kind of have a really big impact from an organic visibility perspective, and that's basically what we are trying to go after here. So the first thing is category specific fields. Now there are normally when you list a product, there are certain fields which are mandatory, and then there are certain fields which are specific to a given category. In this slide, these category specific fields are for the category of a water bottle. Now if you look at these, most of these fields may not be mandatory in the backend, but when you add values to them in the backend for that specific product, your product has the highest chance of appearing into those filters that you can see on the left hand side when you basically end up shopping on Amazon. Now it's a very underrated feature because think about it, if you're selling a water bottle, you are not going to add any kind of special features normally which is say about insulation or about a carrying loop, or maybe it is dishwasher safe or not. So things like these, if you add them, it adds a lot of context to how Amazon's algorithm will understand what you are basically selling and who is it for. The second is image name. Now, most of us, and this is me also, when we were doing this as recently as last year, we didn't understand that even if the name of the image that you upload has some SEO juice. So, if, for example, you just write any random name for your images, then you are basically losing out on some free available visibility space in the SEO algorithm of Amazon to make your product visible. So that's basically something that we make sure for any images, whether it is your main images, whether it is your product images, whether it is a videos, whether it is A plus content, whether it is a brand story, whatever that is, any images or creatives that you upload, if there is a specific keyword that that you're trying to rank on, then it's something that is something that you can't not do. Next is alt tags. So for all images that you upload in A plus content, there is a field which says image keywords. It has 100 characters, and again, something that is very, very underrated, but carries a lot of SEO juice. And these are the kind of things that most sellers kind of miss out on. You already put a lot of effort into researching the right kind of keywords that you want to target. And the idea is to just use them to your advantage into these kind of places that normally other sellers would not think of, or may not have the bandwidth, or may think that, you know what, how much of an improvement am I going to get? Next is Q&A on brand story. So brand story is a section that appears above the A plus content, and there could be multiple carousels, places, creatives that you can do. But specifically this field is there for any Q&As that you as a brand would want to address on the page. And this also gives your entire product line and the brand a lot of context into Amazon's algorithms. The reason why I keep repeating context is something that I address at the later part of the PPT, but with the passing time, context to every product of yours in terms of how it's supposed to be used, in terms of who is going to use it, in terms of how you want that product to be experienced in an ideal scenario, has a lot of importance. Next up, which is the main image. Now, typically 99% of the sellers that I see use something like this as a main image, thinking that, you know what, Amazon's limitations are that you only need to upload a white background image of a product, or maybe like a product photo on a white background, something like that. But over a period of time, we have realized that there are certain loopholes into how you can actually go about curating your main image. And that is exactly where something like this really helps as a guide to follow. So the three-step main image structure is all about making sure that you position your product to the edge, at least two edges of the main image slot. Make sure that there is some level of graphical representation of the most important feature of what you're basically trying to sell, and then maybe use some form of text call out to just address any USP of the product that you might want to address. Now, yes, a lot of you might come back and say that, you know what, Amazon is not going to allow any text on the images and stuff like that. But what we at Your Seller do is we identify 10 different ways in which we can create the main image, and then we do an A/B test of the main image. Chances are that in the A/B test, these images might get approved. But you can't just think that let's create one image and if it doesn't get approved, then let's go to the product photo itself. It's not like that. You have to kind of do a trial and error for your specific category and what gets accepted and what doesn't, and accordingly kind of make your way towards it. So, a couple of examples of what I'm talking about that currently are selling on Amazon as it stands. So think about it. This particular bottle has, say, multiple colors, and the way in which they've designed the main image, it kind of again, as tacky as it might look to some people, it does stand out on the search page when someone searches for a water bottle because of how the main image is curated. Maybe a better version of that is this, where you maybe it's a transparent bottle and they're trying to show uh, how it can be experienced for what it is. And that is, again, it really depends on what you are selling, on how you want to uh, do this to make sure that you're able to extract the best out of your CTRs. Because the only two things that someone sees when they search on Amazon is your main image and the title. If you're not optimizing it and utilizing it to their core, then you are losing out on a lot of people not clicking on your product. And typically, what we also suggest doing is always running an A/B test. So the way in which we do it is there are, say, 10 sets of images or main images that we create for a product. In fact, the amount of time that we end up spending after creating a main image is almost equivalent to the amount of time that we end up spending after building all the other creatives for the brand or for the product. So that is how important the main image is. It's not just one random image that you go about putting outside. Uh, there are constant A/B tests that we run where we test two images at a given time. Based on the 2 weeks of data that we get, we swap that for something else that we feel could also be a better idea, and then find that sweet spot to say that this image usually would perform better than the rest of the others, and then kind of make that as the standard base image that we will end up using. So I think this simple main image hack has resulted in us, in our clients getting overnight success, if that is even a term. I mean, you do this for 2 months with your main image, and then you will realize that when you find one image that really suits your product or your category or the potential customers, then the third month itself would start seeing a noticeable bump in sales just because of that. So again, something to for sure keep in mind and capitalize on. Creatives, a lot of people don't do brand story. So brand story again allows you to, if you have multiple products or portfolios or categories that you are basically selling, that it allows you to cross sell a lot of your other categories and products. You can do a lot of brand specific content on there. It doesn't need to be product specific, but the idea is to again do a cross sell for the other items that you are as it is selling. Next is premium A plus content. Now, most people know what A plus content is, but majority of them don't know what premium A plus is. So premium A plus is, it consists of better, more interactive modules where you can maybe add a video, you can add a lot of carousels, you can add a lot of other products from the same category within your portfolio to do, to kind of run a defense campaign, so to say, for your own products. So if someone is going down and looking at other products of competitors, you have a module in place that you can use to basically market your own ones as well. And that is something that is, again, very, very underrated, and it drives a lot of conversions for us. Now, a lot of this product content already, as we just spoke about, is a little theoretical, a little speculative. How do we kind of ensure that something that is basically being executed has results that you can tangibly verify and understand if that is working for you or not? And that is where the analytics side of the things come into play. Now, the basic things that you would always take a look at are these areas when it comes to analytics, whether it is your total sales, your profitability, your ad spends, ROAS. There are a couple of things that I've highlighted here, which is the NTBs, which is new to brand orders, and your CTRs. I feel both these metrics are extremely important in how you are able to understand the trends of how your products are behaving. But again, these are like very, very basic stuff that I'm sure most of you guys will be tracking on a weekly, monthly basis or whatever. But Along with that, there are some not so basic data points that we feel are really, really important and have given us some great results. So there are two parts to this. One is the not so basic data that is specific to your selling account, and then uh, the data points which are specific to the category or competition. So when it comes to your selling account, organic rank tracking is something which is extremely tedious. It is very, very time taking, but very, very effective. So the way in which we do it is we identify, say for a given ASIN, there are, as you can see, there are like a 50, 100 keywords that you are basically ranking on. And we categorize them into three parts or three tiers. The first tier is a top 20, top keywords in which your organic rank is between 1 and 20, then the keywords where your product positioning is between 21 to 50, and then any keyword where you are ranking, say, from 51 to 100. The idea is to build a rank over a period of time. So for us, there is a saying internally that rank tracking is equivalent to rank building, because if you're not tracking, then you absolutely don't know what you're going to build on. So the idea is to keep on having more and more keywords in the top tier where your products rank in the top 20 category. And any report like this should obviously have an action item. So the way in which we go about doing this is in the top 21 to 50 or 50 to 100 keywords, we identify those keywords and we blast them across multiple places that we just spoke about in the listing content area. Whether it is the alt tags, whether it is the image names, whether it is um, multiple areas that you can blast these at, and then we keep on tracking this weekly and monthly to see if the rank building effort has kind of improved or not. uh, Technically speaking, most times when we have tried to do this, 99% of the time we have seen a tangible improvement in the number of keywords getting added for that top tier list, and it's something that I highly recommend. Next is bestsellers tracking. So this is a rank that Amazon gives to your product for a specific category that your product is listed in. So if you see in this particular example, there is this product which is listed in two categories. So one is the root category and one is the main head tree category. The idea is to track the rank for the root category that you are basically listed in, because that is where most relevant products will also be listed in you're competing against. And the idea is to uh, track the ranks over a period of time to see if you are getting better or worse. Now the reason why we do that is most times when we work with sellers, if there is a downtrend in sales, there are a lot of questions and there are no specific answers on why there is a downtrend in sales. Now there could only be two reasons: either there is a problem at our product level, or maybe the market or the category in itself is not performing the way it was, say, in a given timeline. So for this specific rank tracking, if your rank kind of stays in the same range, and if there's a downtrend in sales, then you know that it's a category level problem and not your brand or product specific problem. But if uh, your product sales rank has gone down for a specific uh, timeline, then you know for sure that it's not a category problem, it's a product level problem that you need to kind of solve. So in this example, as you can see, the fourth product uh, rank, it shows that it got worse significantly, and the sales also dipped significantly. The idea is to be on top of it and then take actions that are needed to solve those problems. In this case, there was an inventory problem because of which the product had gone out of stock, and that is the reason why you see a downtrend in sales rank and sales. Again, very, very important. Next is day parting sales data. Now, it is really, really important for you to understand what times during a given day do you end up getting the most amount of orders. What this will do is it will place you and the brand better for understanding when do you want to be more aggressive with your advertising budgets and kind of spend wisely. I mean, think about it. If, for example, on a given Monday between 12 to 4, most people are looking to buy products in your category, but your marketing budget basically gets out of budget in the first, say, 6 hours or 12 hours of like right when the day starts, then your products are not being made visible when people in that category are actually looking to buy items uh, in a given on a given day in a given timeline. So the way in which we use this is we identify trends over a period of quarters. So every 3 months, we look at this data to see what has changed, what has not changed, to understand buying behavior. Again, this is going to be very, very specific to a given category. Because, for example, someone buying uh, home furnishing items, you might think that over the weekend, people would buy more because they are not occupied with work, or they are not occupied with their other responsibilities, and they might end up buying things related to their home over the weekend. But what if data suggests that Friday evening is when they are active the most? In that case, you would want to capitalize on that data and make sure that you are using this. The way you go about building this is it's very, very simple. Amazon gives you orders data which has a timestamp to each and every order. The idea is to just use that report, collate it, and put it into a Google Sheets or so, where you can create like a graph to be on top of it. Next is brand market share. So this is something that you can find in brand analytics. You will obviously need to be brand registered in order to do that. But the whole idea here is that out of the 100 keywords that you are trying to build ranking on, what is your overall share when it comes to purchases that are made for that specific keyword? Um, in order to make sure that uh, you are trying to build on those keywords and trying to get better with your sales and ranking. So this is a report that we track again on a quarterly basis to see what keywords are contributing what percentage of purchases for us as a brand, and kind of reverse calculate our way back to building a strategy for the next quarter. A very, very interesting report. This is market basket analysis. Again, you can find this into brand analytics. This basically suggests that what is the probability of someone buying a product that is listed here along with yours. So say for example, in the first line item, if you look at, there's a 2.33% instance where someone has bought both the products listed together in the same basket. Now, what this helps you do is you can run product targeting campaigns for all the products where, say, that percentage is on the higher side, uh, and kind of see if you're able to get more sales from it, even though they may not be relevant to your category. So, for example, I may be only, I mean, I may be selling office furniture, but then someone has bought a Cadbury alongside it. And if there is data that is suggesting that there is a 10% chance that someone buying Cadbury will also buy this together, then I would want to target that in one way or the other. As absurd as it sounds, it's just data that is giving us that insight to understand how the buying behavior happens. Moving on to not so basic market data. So there are two primary things that we track. And we do this very, very diligently. The first is competition sales tracking, like how we would look at our own sales. We have multiple tools through which you can gauge how much competition is selling. Again, this is to basically understand trends um, within the ecosystem of the category. I mean, ecosystem of the category that you're basically selling in, to understand that if someone else is also trying to grow their sales and what is their strategy to do that. Just having a bird's eye view of what their revenue was in the last 30 days and comparing that to yours as a habit has really helped us get a lot of context and perspective um, to building that strategy for that specific month. So a lot of times we have had instances where competition sales has declined by say 30%, but our sales would have increased by 10% month over month. What that suggests is there is a huge shift in market share that has happened because of whatever strategies we had applied, whether it is specific to organic ranking or paid ads or whatever, that resulted in that increase and a decrease in their sales. And along with that, we also take a lot of interest into what their pricing strategy is. Again, you can't do this for thousands of products. So the idea is to handpick a few ASINs and a few competitors that you feel are extremely relevant to what your product is, and use a tool like Helium 10 to track their pricing across whatever timeline and see if what they are doing um, is relevant to what you are trying to do or not, and see if you compete better. I mean, at a very high level, if you look at it, Amazon has the Great Indian Festival starting from 27th of September. Flipkart also has a sale event starting from that day itself. So the idea is to compete together and compete better. So if your competition, for example, is reducing their prices, and if they are a direct competitor with almost similar product, then chances are if you don't decrease your prices, then your market share will be addressed to them in the most layman explanation of that. Which brings us to the pricing strategy side of the world. It is again one of the most discussed and one of the most brainstormed topics on how do you go about pricing your products. This is a typical pricing strategy that any seller normally applies. They basically study competition, what their price is, they understand what Amazon fee structure is. Then based on that, based on their cogs and other fixed costs, they would come up to a target price. Based on that, create a higher MRP so that there is some value that they can show to the customer. "Okay, chalo, we are giving 30% off or 20% off." And then during high season sale events, they end up giving discounts. Now, this is something that we also used to do back in the day when we started, where we didn't know better. But there are much smarter ways of how you can price your products. And this is basically what it looks like. The idea is to study competition pricing for the last entire year. Again, this is only for products that are extremely relevant to what your product is. Understand the seasonality in your category. If there are any specific timelines during the year where your products get a boost or your category gets a boost, then you would want to take note of that. Based on that, set a target price, create higher MRP. Again, you obviously have to include Amazon fees. You obviously have to take care of your margins and stuff like that. But based on that higher MRP, create two price ranges, one for low season, one for high season. So what this helps you do is it helps you plan a year in advance on what exactly you are looking to do with that specific product for the next year. And the idea is to increase prices during high season rather than decreasing prices. Now, anytime you work with Amazon reps, Amazon account managers, every time they will want to either spend more money or decrease prices. That's basically what they'll be after your life for. The idea is to take a order outlook and be a step ahead of them by pricing your products lower or higher before your seasonality comes into equation. That will enable you to make more profits. I'll give an example of what I'm exactly talking about. So this graph that we just saw earlier was basically of a water bottle. And if you see for the last year, the only times they have raised their prices
Check, check, check.
Hello.
I lost you guys.
Oh, I think Shayul dropped off. Am I the only one who is seeing him dropped off?
Yeah, I mean, we both.
Samir, sorry, your mic is on mute.
No, my mic is on. Am I audible? I think we lost him. I'm getting a chat that I'm audible. You guys are audible and visible. Okay. Srijay, we both are there in the.
But you dropped off. Okay, some glitch with the internet or software, but yeah, we're joining back. I think he's back.
So sorry, I probably had some internet connection while speaking, but yeah. Anyway, um, sorry. Where till when did you guys?
I think we just got started with the pricing strategy, and then it got dropped off.
When I was till when was
No, the one above. There is.
Okay. Okay. Sorry. So I just got some pricing. Is what you said? Till when was I available?
I think you talked till the bottle
Sorry.
part,
Yeah.
the bottle price.
Uh,
Yeah. Probably the next slide is yet to be
yeah. So yeah.
you have to. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, AI and Amazon again. One of the hottest topics that is there in the current world is AI, with everything being driven, impacted by it. How does Amazon selling get affected because of it is something that we'll probably discuss a little. So Amazon launched its own shopping AI assistant called Rufus. You can find this in the mobile app on Amazon, where it will act as a shopping assistant for you. Think of it like a shopping attendant that you would come across when you enter a store, and they'll be kind of guiding you to the entire aisle of maybe buying a product or kind of assisting you with it. Now here's what we know so far. So what it basically looks at it is reviews. So reviews are now more important than ever before. Literally, the first question that you would come across when you go on a product page is, what do the customers say about an item? Now, if say for example the product has say over 1,000 reviews, Rufus does an amazing job of truncating all of those 1,000 reviews into a summary of sorts, along with identifying specific features or specific things about a product that people talk about the most. Now, what this does is not only did reviews have a lot of importance back in the day before, but now with a summary like this, a lot of description and context that is mentioned in those reviews takes a lot of center stage. So, for example, if someone is trying to search for um, gifts to give to my sister, for example, and if someone in reviews multiple times has mentioned that they bought a product as a gift to their sister, then chances are that that product is going to appear higher up in the search results. um, it is also a lot more conversational, so you can basically record and talk to it and have it show search results or products that are specific to what you're searching for. So typically, if you were to just type something, you would type 2 or 3 keywords which are like a long tail keyword, but when it is more conversational, then it gives a lot more context to the search query and it is a lot more detailed. So that is exactly where the content on your listing, the images, everything that you have mentioned on how your product is supposed to be used, how it's supposed to be experienced, comes into equation and kind of makes it a lot more appealing than otherwise. Third is image recognition. So this is literally what you can do right now. You can basically go to add product page, go into add a product by image. You can click a photo of a product, upload that image, and ask it to generate content for you. What this will do is, based on the image, it will generate some content in the title. Again, it is not the best right now, so you can't rely on it to a level where you say that we'll just click a photo, get the content in place, and make it live. But we use it very, very differently. So anytime we build any infographics for our clients, we test it by uploading an image of that into this to see what is the Amazon algorithm reading about that image when we upload it. Based on that, Rufus is also going to make suggestions to its search results. So again, it's a very jugadu thing that we are doing here. It's not directly correlated, but it's still a significant. I mean, it gives you a significant understanding of how Amazon perceives that image and what it thinks of it from a keyword standpoint. And most important thing, which will change the entire shopping experience for from both a seller perspective and a shopping perspective, is it will track your order history to give a customer profile, or to kind of come up with a customer profile for you as a buyer. So for example, if there's a pregnant lady who is trying to make purchases related to her pregnancy, and then she ends up, say, searching for a pillow, chances are that her search results are going to be majorly skewed towards pillows that are actually going to be more relevant for that pregnant lady, rather than someone else just searching without being pregnant. So that's how customization is going to come into play. Another layer to this is also pricing. So if you are a shopper who ends up spending more amount of money, or your AOV is more than normal, then chances are that your search results are going to be populated with products that are, say, highly priced, because it's something that you as a buyer prefer to get into. So there are multiple areas like these. When they work together, they will create a very, very customized experience for a shopper, and that is something that you really need to understand as a seller, because if you don't, then there are competitor products out there who are going to basically take away your market share. So based on this, what are the actionable steps that you can basically take to make sure that you are Rufus compatible? It's honestly very, very simple, and it ties with everything that we have kind of covered in the last 20-30 minutes. The first is to really understand who you're trying to target, what profile. So, for example, Dairy Milk, when it's Valentine's Day season, typically 3 months before that, when it markets its advertising, it uses college goers as an example or target market it's trying to kind of tap into. That doesn't mean that aged people are not going to buy the product. It just means that it's a very targeted campaign that they are running for a specific group or a demographic. And that is exactly what you need to understand for your product, on who is going to use your product most times. Based on that, start building out usage scenarios. So for example, we work with a client who is into gifting business, and the major target market for them is parents, when they end up buying return gifts for their kids birthday parties. Now if the listing product page shows the scenarios on how the product is supposed to be experienced and consumed, then chances are that when someone uses Rufus to make a search for your product, then your product is going to show higher up, because there's a lot of context that you've already defined for your product. Three, create a story. So it's not just going to be text. You can't create, no longer will you be able to stuff keywords. You will have to make sure that it's a much more holistic effort, where both text and creatives have a much bigger role to play in giving that listing page experience that is highly, highly relevant to uh, a specific target audience. And based on that, only you be able to succeed, because any generic stuff that you write is not going to be ranked. It's not going to be relevant. It's like earlier, what we used to do is, think about it as a notional example. If you are someone who is selling chocolates, and if you want to make your product visible on, say, gardening tools, you can't do that because there is no relevancy. Now that's a very polarizing example where someone can really understand the difference between gardening tools and chocolates. But if you go a few levels deeper, say chocolates um, for occasions versus chocolates for daily consumption, they also have a big layer of differentiation in how it's experienced and consumed. That is exactly where something like this is going to have a much bigger role to play. Fourth, please don't miss out on this, because most sellers, again, because they have multiple SKUs to manage or whatever, they do not end up filling fields which are not mandatory. So all the fields that I talked about in the earlier part of this conversation, which is category specific fields, while they may not be mandatory, they give a lot of context to how your product is supposed to be consumed. Um, Reviews. So again, all of us try our level best to get more and more reviews for our product to kind of bring that authenticity in. The idea here is to be more and more descriptive and add more and more scenarios on how that product was consumed, along with images and videos of how the product was used. So anytime you try to solicit reviews, make sure that you have like a big essay talking about how the product was consumed, along with some media level stuff that is also added there.
So Shaival, I would stop you right there because Raj Prajapati had put in a question a few
Sure.
minutes back, which was around reviews. So in experience, reviews and feedbacks, obviously, as you pointed out, makes a great importance. For the early entrants, how do you get the reviews? How do you incentivize, assuming that now Amazon, in last few years have stopped giving buyer information, so you can't reach out to them directly, which used to be the case years back. How do you, assuming that it is a nascent stage to like an early stage brand, how do you collect the reviews?
So this, while the question is regarding reviews, I think it talks more about a broader product launch strategy on how should you be placing your product for longer term success. Because yes, your product is naked in terms of its reviews, and there's no proof of concept. The only thing that you can do is to basically sell more. If you sell more, then chances of reviews coming in are higher. There are a lot of black hat and gray hat tactics that go on in the background, which I don't recommend, because we have had a couple of instances. Again, this was 4 or 5 years back, where a few of our clients tried to solicit reviews from people who claim to bring reviews to your products. Uh, if it gets flagged, then chances are that your entire account may get blocked. So it's not something that I recommend. It's a risk. If it's something that you want to take, then you can by all means go for it. Having said that, from a product launch strategy perspective, for example, if your target price is say 1,000 rupees for a given product, what we recommend to our clients is you launch your product at 500 rupees, and then you keep like a unit level target for each pricing tier. So say from 500 to 1,000, there are 5 pricing tiers, where every time you hit a particular sales volume, you increase your price by 50 or 100 rupees to eventually get to 1,000 rupees, say by the end of 2 weeks. Yes, you will incur a loss for say those 100, 200 units, depending on what your price was. But that loss is significantly lesser when compared to the amount of advertising money that you end up spending for the years after that. So the idea is to do that for the first 2 months, which will mean that once you have 300, 400 people buying your product, it starts ranking higher up. One. Second, there are more reviews that are coming in for sure, because you are reaching out to new buyers. And buyers are also incentivized to purchase a product at a cheaper price as compared to competition, especially when there is no proof of concept in reviews. So there are three things that get solved because of just using this one strategy when you launch your product. And other than that, there are multiple ways, whether it is through emails that you can directly use from within Amazon to reach out to customers. In my experience, it will not have a huge impact. Probably 1 or 2% at the max, people would end up leaving a review. That too is not something that will have a huge impact. The only thing that you can do is to just price your product correctly, go really aggressive at the start, have as many buyers buy into your product as much as possible, have them leave reviews. If your product is good, it's going to sell by itself.
Great, absolutely, and also I think a few other things that I've seen people doing is to kind of add an insert in the physical delivery. I think a personalized note or something like that, which kind of gives a little bit of personalization. Maybe a QR code against a discount being offered, and you can lure your customers to kind of get into a repeat buying. More importantly, incentivize them for putting down a review and things like those. So yeah, but I think this is a great strategy that you discussed, is tiered pricing, something that is unusual.
Yeah.
But hearing of that, I think it makes a lot of sense. I would rather discount the price and give that benefit to my customers than giving that money away to Amazon and Google to promote my product. Right? Eventually, even if it is a zero-sum game, it's the customer that's winning, and that builds a better narrative. So, thank you for sharing that. Absolutely, Samir. At any point of time, if you would want to, kind of chime in, definitely.
I think I'll add a values to both of your points.
Is on mute right now, but yeah.
Mute?
So Samir runs a company called Deodap, which is also a very scaled up company, and both on proprietary website, which is deodap.com, and as a shipper on Amazon. They've done phenomenally well. So yeah, definitely your insights would value.
Am I audible? Just have to check that.
Can hear you.
Yeah, I'll add values to both of your points, and maybe with a little disagreements. So, so one, when you said inserting a QR code or a coupon, we're asking for a reviews, is actually against Amazon policy. So if you're doing it, you're doing it at risk. Okay, I mean,
Correct.
however, there are a lot of people doing that. So second thing is about Shaival, as we spoke about, that for an X product, you want to sell it at 800 rupees, launch it at 500, and then gradually make it to 800. That's an excellent thing. Probably we have done that very well in the past. But today, the algorithm is very much on the price. Amazon as a top priority is a speed, and thereafter it's a pricing. Okay, so if you're trying to increase the price, be very sure that you're trying to hurt
You're not
your
hitting
product.
a particular percentage. You don't go above and beyond a particular percentage so that you end up losing the buyback. So
True.
yeah, that's the reason why
And then
you.
the idea which you said, gradually increasing by 5-10% is a very good way to do. But what I can suggest, one more additional to that is, uh, whenever you want to drop a price, list a product for 800 rupees. There is an option which is called deal of the day at the deal part. So if you're dropping your price with the help of deal, you're not harming your algorithm. You're not harming your product acing. You're not harming anything with the product. The second thing what you can do is, this is pure probably for the people who have a repeat buying rate. Maybe the chocolates which you say, which are the daily consumables, or maybe somebody who is into cosmetic, or maybe whose product is a repeat buying. So their CAC can be higher, but LTV is very good.
Yeah.
So, for example, there is one friend of mine who is selling a face wash or maybe some cosmetic thing. So, what they can do is they can provide an offer where you buy an X product and you get a Y product for free. This is a very recent thing which has happened on Amazon, and there are few drop shippers with us. So they come up with their own product, and so what they usually play strategy is that if they want to promote their cosmetic product, or they want to promote some of their product which is they want to just give a free sampling, and on the name of a free sampling they still want to make money out of it. So what can be done is that you sell a water bottle, and then you add an offer that when you add to cart the water bottle, automatically your this face wash or anything will be added to the cart. And this strategy has been done by the men company recently.
Okay.
So what they did is, the men company, they sell this perfumes and all. I have not much idea about them. So what they did is, they launched this one of their perfume, and they wanted to sell it at a break even, or maybe with a loss of 10 to 20 rupees. Maybe that's what their budget was. So what they did is, they launched one chocolate. They because it was a seasonal time, so along with the chocolate they were giving this perfume for free. And now what happened is, if you buy anything from their catalog, this perfume was given for free. And as you know, the algorithm will see the product is getting sold quickly. The rank of that product goes very high.
Yeah.
And eventually, that the primary product for any product which buyer is buying, the free product was ranking up. So probably this could be the good strategy, and they generated a very good reviews on particular perfume which they have launched. So obviously this was just an added information to what you said. However, you have been so fantastic that my whole attention was on listening to you. Along with, I was doing little multitasking, but you had grabbed that attention, and the presentation which you have made is an excellent. Probably the audience here who are here have got a lot of values from this presentation. Well, thanks for that.
Well, I
Brilliant.
hope.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I hope so. The whole idea of doing this was to make sure that we provide some value which is not obviously available and known to most people. Uh, Again, there could be a few things that people would know, but collectively, if you do all of this, then 100% there's no chance that your product is not going to attain success unless the product itself is really bad. That is a different story altogether. But other than that, from an Amazon perspective, I feel uh, these are all the things that you can do which do not cost you money. For everything else, whatever you want to do, which is to make your product visible, it costs you advertising money, which is, in my opinion, very, very precious. And if you do all of this, and then when you end up spending money after advertising, the probability of it becoming profitable and successful is so much higher.
Brilliant. Perfect. So yeah, I just wanted to slide in that question. With that, I think we can move on to the
Yes,
rest of the
that's
conversation.
basically it. I just want to sum it up. The whole idea of this conversation was to focus on the 5 areas that I feel in today's time are extremely important if you are a seller on Amazon. Uh, like I just talked about, first is distribution, wherein you need to be available in at least 4 or 5 states across the country. The second is you have to create a story around your brand and your content and your product to make sure that You're giving a holistic experience which is extremely unique to your own brand. Three, you really understand your business deeper in a way that you can take actions on. See, it's very easy to build fancy reports and graphs and think that, you know what, oh, this looks great. But then if there's nothing actionable to come out of it, it has no value. So the idea is to focus on things that you can take action on and make changes along the way. Fourth, again, pricing. The idea is to plan at least a year in advance. It can't just be that, you know what, Great Indian Festival is starting from 27th of September, today is 20th September, let's see what deals we can run. You can't, if you're basically doing that, then you're setting yourself up for failure in terms of not really extracting value out of the algorithm and your overall selling effort. And fifth, again, with how AI is, Amazon is looking to give shoppers a more customized experience. So it's basically doing all the four things above well in order to give that customization to the customer from a seller perspective and kind of making it happen. And with that, I think we can, if there are any more questions or anything else that people want to talk about, then we can kind of go into that.
Brilliant. So I think with that we take up. Thank you so much, for sparing that time, and definitely insightful for me. I think Sayyam's question is for beginners, because we talked about the images on your product display page being of a great importance. That is something that also works as a magnet for CTR. Right, people like to see beautiful things on Amazon, but not every brand has that much of budget to create. I mean, we work with some brands which are very large scale global, where there is a huge amount of budget to create 3D assets, to create fancy images, photo shoots, models, all 9 yards and jazz. For smaller brands in particular, how can they improve their quality of product images, right? Assuming that the budgets are slim, but they want to get to a great and decent start, right? Second is, if at all there are any AI tools now. I mean, GPT is very popular, where a lot of editing could happen, and if so, there are specific tools that you can recommend to transform the images into, at least get the initial starters to that 80% mark, if not 110. So what's your opinion, Samir, Shaival, if you guys can chime in on that?
Sure. Samir bhai, if you want to go ahead, yeah, go ahead, please.
No, Shival bhai. So I think for the beginners, I have closely worked with so many early brands who come on Amazon, and their vision is very realistic. They don't want to go to 100x in the next 2 to 3 years. They have a realistic vision, and probably I support people who have a realistic vision of growing 2 to 3x, maybe 4x. That's what the realistic vision is when you're on Amazon. So I would say, what does Amazon love? What does the Amazon algorithm love is to be done more precisely. So the primary things which can be done is that this looks little funny, but then if you make sure to keep opening your Amazon seller account every now and then, you are helping Amazon that you are a very serious seller when you're in a beginning stage. Second thing is, the moment you get an order, make sure to process them. Third thing is, Amazon knows that what kind of a seller it is. So let's say if you launch your account as a clothing category, I'm just giving you an example. Okay, Amazon will never highlight you. It will, in fact, even if you're spending lakhs of rupees on the advertising, it will never show you on the front end. It will always try to control your visibility. And how does Amazon decide that which seller is from which category? So for initial 3 months, Amazon is studying your account to identify that which account do you fall in, which category do you fall in. So here, what you can do is you can play with Amazon. Okay, I keep saying that if Amazon is smart, you have to be smarter than them, right? So what can be done is, as I said, you keep opening your Amazon account. What you can do is you can list your product in all the categories, whether you have it them or you don't have it them. So Amazon decides a seller on a 2 criteria. One is a generic seller, which could be a brand seller, or which could be someone who is just starting out to experience how the Amazon selling works. And another one, whom Amazon categorizes as an aggregator. where Amazon wants a very serious sellers on their platform, like who would comply with all their policies, who would want to grow with Amazon by making sure that they are part of their policies. So beginner seller should make sure to list their products in all the categories, should make sure to check their seller account every now and then possible, should have a seller app installed, should make sure to, there are a lot of notifications which keep coming on Amazon Seller Central itself, to make sure to read them. And Amazon is tracking each and every behavior of yours when you're on a seller account. That's what I personally feel. It looks like a very common sense for beginner sellers, but in a maybe a week or two they forget of doing this, and they might consider it कि जब order आएगा तब हम account open करेंगे, या uh, they don't spend a lot of time on spending their seller account. Another thing which they can do is they can keep playing with the price. If seller is every day slightly changing 1 rupee and increasing a 1 rupee and playing around with the seller account, it's going to help them. So Sheval, that's what I feel. Probably can add more values.
Yeah, I think all those points are absolutely valid points. Coming to the images side of the world on how to basically go about creating images if you are a beginner with limited budget, I think with the way AI is structured right now, just having your basic product images in place and using generative fill with Adobe Photoshop, which is again a very basic tool that most people will have access to, will you will be able to extract a lot of value and kind of take your product listing quality up significantly as compared to someone who, like you mentioned, has a lot of bells and whistles, has a lot of budget, a lot of other fancy items to kind of spend money on. Um, from that perspective, both these things for smaller sellers with limited budgets have, I feel, really bridged that gap. Again, the idea is not to go after spending money with secondary images as much as you would spend your time, effort, and energy and money after building your main image, because that is basically what attracts people to come to your product page and make a decision on whether you want to purchase that or not. So like I mentioned, in terms of effort and energy, the amount of effort that it takes you to build other creatives should be similar to the amount of effort that it takes you to build your main image. If you're able to do that, then 100% you will be able to bridge that gap significantly as a small brand.
Brilliant. Perfect. I've also kind of added some resources on chat. There are plenty of AI tools where you take, photographs from regular mobile phones, or if you are privileged enough to have like high-end cameras, and then you can use these AI tools to transform those images into a much more better, sharper images. So yeah, there is plenty of plenty of resources that are available, which are now AI based, significantly reducing the effort to create great images. So definitely feel free to use, try, test. I think as earlier Shaival mentioned, the beauty is in testing things, right, and failing fast if at all. So try certain things. If they work, replicate the success. If they don't work, then don't repeat the same mistake. But a lot of A/B testing, multivariate testing is very fundamental both to Amazon as well as selling on proprietary websites. There are some great and cheaper help now available as compared to having expensive resources to create those images.
Yeah, I mean, again, so with images, again, I forgot to add one more point, especially with AI and Rufus, with how Amazon is planning on launching it. Whatever text or context that you add to your infographics and your images and your creatives will now hold a lot of value. So it's not so much about the production value of the images, more so than it's about the actual things that you are trying to communicate through your images. And that doesn't come at a cost. It basically comes with the understanding of you knowing your product better, you knowing your target audience better, how it's supposed to be consumed and experienced. And based on that, you go about curating your your creatives. If you are able to crack that, then there is no chance that your product can't be visible correctly in the places that you want it to be visible.
Brilliant. Perfect. So with that, we move on to the next question. That is from Tanmay Gupta. He says, I have a men's ethnic wear brand, and last year I had started selling it on Amazon, but later on closed the listing since the returns were on higher side, and that too used products return back. So obviously you wouldn't have the opportunity to sell them back in the market again. How to deal with the returns on Amazon? That is a burning problem. Many of us are trying to figure out a solution to that. There are some great companies that are out there which are um, which have taken that as a problem statement, wherein they are trying to mitigate the sizing issue, the look and feel of the fabric. They are trying to demonstrate that virtually to sort of address how the returns can go lower. Two major things that Amazon flags as reason of return in clothing categories: one, a size misfit, right? And so there are certain companies who are working on computer vision and other AI based technologies to figure out what exact size through certain dimensions. And a great example of that as a pioneer is, let's say, Lenskart, with them acquiring a company called Ditto, which is, I think, Israel based, which led them to introduce try on in India, right? So you sort of have a facial recognition. You move your face left and right, and your camera gauges the size and distance, and it will make you a virtual try on where you would be able to see how the frame fits on your face. There were other companies who were already doing that with the help of credit card, which is a very standard sizing. So in a very early interesting case scenario, there were companies where they would let you, or they would ask you to put a credit card on your forehead. And because the credit card dimensions are largely known, they extrapolate that information to find out the distance between your eyes, your nose, your center point, and kind of reverse engineer that math. So there are some great companies who are trying to kind of solve that problem as a business solution, right? But apart from that, if there are quicker hacks, definitely chime in.
Yeah, I mean, so there are two big uh, things here. See, if there's one problem, then you can manage it one way or the other. There are two problems in this question. One is selling clothing items on Amazon. There in itself is a problem. Second, getting more returns on Amazon. So the thing is, Amazon is not natively built to be selling apparel or apparel accessories, unfortunately. So that experience of a customer trying to understand, okay, yaar, if I'm making a purchase in this category, would it fit me? Would it look good on me? Would it look in a particular way? Is extremely it's extremely orthodox and is not native to what a clothing experience or clothing purchase experience should look like. That is the reason why you have all sorts of companies or brands creating only clothing specific marketplaces where the experience is extremely catered towards that category and where that buying and selling happens. One, so Amazon is not meant for that or built for that. Second, in terms of returns, now unfortunate of all the categories that you end up selling in, clothing attracts the highest amount of returns. So generally in other marketplaces also, typically what we see is at least 30 to 35% of items end up being returned back. Now, when you combine both these two things and Amazon, it's basically not a very compatible match. That is one. Second, when it comes to Amazon, Amazon values longevity. The problem with apparels is you have multiple seasonalities, multiple collections that come into play. So every 3 months there's a new product that you're trying to, or new collection that you're trying to launch, and the old one probably is out of inventory, or you're no longer going to sell it. What Amazon's algorithm values the most is building a particular listing over a period of time with more reviews, better content, better visibility, better rankings, to the level where it becomes a legacy product if it reaches a particular point in time with X amount of sales. So we have had clients where they have only one SKU, literally one SKU. There's a client who's selling in the toys category, and there's a very specific seasonality associated to it, which is basically during summers in the US. And for literally 3 months is when their product selling happens. But because of the fact that they have been on it for 5 years, they are doing volumes that are crazy that you would not even think of for one product. So you really need to understand what is your category and what will be a good match for you to launch your product into. So unfortunately, if I have to be extremely honest about this, Amazon is not the right place at this point in time for apparels or apparel accessories. But if you still are willing to sell on it, then make sure that you are doing it one with very limited number of SKUs, which you plan on for keeping in your portfolio for a significantly longer time. So it's not like you take 10 SKUs for 3 months and then after 3 months you're launching something else. Those 10 SKUs then have to be in your portfolio for say the years to come. What that will do is it will attract a lot of reviews, it will build the ranking over a period of time, and all the returns and everything will kind of get set off against the sales that you will end up getting. The problem is when you start this and when you say sell 100 units and 40 or 50 units end up coming back, you are basically completely demotivated to do anything about it. So that's how I would kind of approach it.
Fair. So I think what you're trying to say is platforms like Myntra, which are more like where people have an intent to buy fashion, are probably more suited for this category as opposed to Amazon.
Correct.
Fair enough.
I'll add some values to that again.
Absolutely.
Very simply, again, not to sell a clothing on Amazon. That's very well said. Try not to map your seller account in a clothing account in a clothing category. So as I previously said, Amazon would categorize you as a what category seller you are into. So if your seller account has been by default categorized as a clothing category seller, your visibility will be minimized. So what can be done is you can diversify your portfolio of a selling account and add other category products within your seller account. And maybe when you are launching, somebody new sellers who are launching on the day one, try launching your seller account into different category. So for example, our account, it was launched probably 10 years ago, and we were launched under initially we launched one of the product socks in the grocery category. So luckily we've been still mapped under the grocery category, which is a food category. Okay. And the level of visibility we get is comparatively better than the if we were launched under the socks category, which is a clothing category. And probably till today we enjoy that. We had one more seller account where we launched ourselves under a garden category. The level of visibility which we get from the garden category, and then ultimately that's a launch category of the seller account, and then you have this aggregator account. So we have upgraded all our seller accounts to aggregator account. Now because of that, whenever we launch any product, Amazon doesn't get confused that whether it's a wrong mapping of the category or not, or whether this product is trying to confuse the platform or not. So probably first of all, not to sell a clothing. That's what my advice is on Amazon, as like Sheval said. Second is if you are desperate of selling clothing category, don't map yourself to a clothing category. That's a simple advice I can say.
Brilliant. Perfect. I think that is very well put. And I think it is a unanimous opinion that clothing is something that might not attract Amazon's attention, probably become a little difficult. Brilliant. So Janvi has a question. Can you share an example of a good storytelling W creatives? I don't know what W creatives are unless I'm missing out on some Amazon lingo and jargon. If you guys do, please.
Yeah, so I think probably what she's asking for is some samples or links to some listings that have kind of curated their listing page in a particular way. 100%, we can basically share some links. Maybe, I don't know if there's a way for us to...
I'm sorry, I'll have to leave, but thank you so much. It was a fantastic talk, and
Brilliant.
the audience has been so interestingly listening. So I was actually, when enjoying the same thing. But do reach out to me on my LinkedIn if there is any question related to me. And wish you all the best. Amazon selling is the one of the best thing that can happen in next 5 years. So we are doing it and we keep telling. And probably the story with what you started was a fantastic thing, that you have to be in the multiple states, you have to have focus on the reviews and all. Probably your session, somebody should download this present PPT and then go through it again. Maybe that would be the good advice. But apart from that, thank you so much. And with this positive note, I would say goodbye to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Samir, for spending time with us.
Thank you so much, Samir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care. Perfect. Sorry. So coming back to telling good storytelling.
I think with creatives.
With creatives. Okay. All right. I'm an oldie.
Maybe we can. Is there a way in which we can email her a few links or something like that? It will be difficult to.
Absolutely. Let me actually do this. So let me try and share my screen and bring up a brand that obviously is also a client. All right. Is my screen shared?
Yeah.
Great. Perfect. Yeah, so this is this is some of the examples. How how the creatives or storytelling can be embedded in certain sections. So just taking an example of this brand called Casemate, which makes cases. So obviously there are PDPs, which are regular renders, and there are 3D renders. Then you have specific information followed up with that, which is basically, so this is addressing, the size fit issue for which kind of device it is. So there is no misordering to that, right? Highlighting certain key features. For example, this case comes with a MagSafe feature. So obviously, kind of highlighting those through the stories and then adding certain video elements to that. Also, I think your brand page is something which is a great opportunity to storytell a lot of things, right? So the newest collection that is being launched, your ad copies, the kind of things that you do. So these things definitely make a great difference, right? If you have a very nice brand store that is available, right, you sort of talk about. So this is a great example. They're tote bags in Soap Bubble. I think there is a lot of storytelling that is happening, through images, through words, through videos. So obviously, some demonstrations around that and things like those. So I think there would be plenty of ways. The longer story short, I think, is you don't just need to put photographs of your image. You can be creative enough to, sort of view text with the images to highlight key features, to lure target audience, to create more relevance and appeal with your target market, and so on and so forth. So I think this all kind of combined builds a great story, brand positioning, making sure that you have audience which is right fit for your kind of category, which does not or would not lead to any misinterpretations about your product, and highlight the key features. So three very important things. One is use storytelling for highlighting key features. For example, you are a simple case, which everybody has, been selling in different price ranges. But if your case is, let's say, tough enough to, like a 16 feet drop uh, protection? Is it some different kind of material which is better in use, better in look, styling, size fit, right? Those sort of features, whether it is MagSafe enabled or not, right? The second thing is your images and creative could tell a story about what kind of market are you targeting, right? So your target market for those kind of products is more chic, versus if you are selling a plain white, black, robust, bulky looking, that's more for like rough and tough guys, who are in outdoors. So you can use images to kind of build that story narrative. And third is obviously your brand positioning. So when you create these kind of images, always make sure that you have your target market in your mind, right? So a lot of times the mistake that happens is, we see our problems and our likings to be world's problems and world's likings, right? You might be that rough and tough guy, but you are in the industry to sell products to a very chic market, right? And so it's not about your liking, it is about who you are trying to sell and what is their liking, and displaying your images the way that they would like, and you might just not like it, but you might like making money out of it, right? So I think that could be a good example. Shaival, if you want to extend on that.
Yeah, I think I with how, like I just talked about AI and Rufus and how Amazon is basically progressing in a particular direction, creatives will have a lot more value than they used to have before. So any kind of text, any kind of intent behind a specific image targeting a specific audience will have a lot of value than just having like a secondary image. So the way you would go about building that story or that narrative around the product, around your target market, has to be a lot more holistic. It can't be singular. It can't just be like, यार we have 8 images, second में ये रखेंगे, fourth में ये रखेंगे, third में ये रखेंगे. You can't do it like that. There has to be a much more curated experience where uh, you really identify and understand how will the customer in those 10 or 20 seconds when they end up looking at your product page look at what items or creatives or text, and then go about managing those in a very strategic way rather than just doing them ad hoc. So that is exactly where your understanding of the category, the product, and who is supposed to use it has a much bigger role to play than just having any aesthetically good looking product, I mean aesthetically good looking images out there. So yes, aesthetics are good, but aesthetics without intent will have no value. And even if your products say are not as aesthetically good, but if the intent is correct on how you position your product through your images, then you are basically setting your product up for a much longer term success.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And Janvi, I think I hope that answers your question. Sayam had a comment that he would want to connect with you, so I'm just taking a liberty to commit your time on that. But generally, as a I think the sense of community is, or the beauty of community is connections, right? So I would encourage everyone who is participants over here, to kind of share each other's LinkedIn profiles, or connect with each other where you find synergies. Synergistic growth is always very beautiful. So you can find Shaival on his LinkedIn. His company's name, Your Seller. His name is Shaival Joxi, as you can see on the screen. Shaival, please make a note of Sayam Shah, who runs a company, Manifest Outlet. So happy connecting.
100%.
Janvi says, my category is replacement of single-use pads, liners, diapers. I am having difficulty making people aware. This is a great question. It is a category in creation. So there is not a lot of obvious search volume in there. And so how to create a category? Now, creating a category is an expensive affair. But at the same time, Janvi, I'm just kind of giving my 2 cents on that is, rather than creating a category, try to reach out to audience within other categories who are obvious buyers of your product, right? So just to kind of draw that parallel, if you are, I'm assuming it is diapers for kids, then you have a large category which is, let's say, kids cosmetics. We have Riddhi Sharma with us today. She runs a fantastic brand called Baby Organo, which is baby Ayurvedic products. Right, so these categories are growing very big, and your product fits within that category. So not categorizing your seller account into that, but trying to somehow funnel the advertisers the way that people who are obvious users of these categories see visibility of your product, right? And that is how you create awareness around your product. So we do this trick with a lot of D2C brands when we try to scale their websites SEO, where we don't find a lot of search volume per se, right? There are two strategies that we ideally implement. One is specific keyword searches. So even though your volumes would be lower, if you are playing within long tail specific keywords, the purchase intent is much higher, and so is your conversion. And that is how you signal the search engines, whether that is Amazon search engine or Google search engine, to make sure that they take a worthy note of your existence, right? The second thing is try and hang out at the places where, I mean, I'm a great example of that. So without without actually taking any other example, I would give today's example. So LegalViz as a company, which I run, sells legal products, right? And legal products to startups and small businesses and MSMEs. Now, obviously, LegalViz does not have a lot to do with Amazon selling, but I know if my customers are businesses who are selling on Amazon, this is a good visibility or brand introduction to them, right? So you all made a note of LegalViz today, right? So if you have compliance issues, if you want to register your trademarks because you are selling on Amazon, it is mandatory. You will think of LegalViz, right? And so again, kind of not within that category, but trying to advertise within the user group that is likely going to be a potential customer tomorrow. So that is one example. I didn't mean to kind of do that, but since we are talking of examples, I would just put that across. I think that is how you kind of gain that visibility. Once you start becoming more popular, the searches start happening around there, right? So then there are a lot of searches which happen for product, or which happen for brand as compared to the product, right? For example, there would be enough searches for Bisleri as opposed to bottled water or packaged bottled water. I'm sure if you were to kind of look up the search volumes on SEMrush, Bisleri is a higher searched term as compared to packaged drinking water, right? And so that is how the category kind of gets started in creation. So these are my simple thoughts on that. Shaival, if you would want to add something.
Yeah, so predominantly Amazon has always been a marketplace for sellers that already have a category in place. That is the basic DNA of how Amazon works. If you want to create an entirely new category or launch products which are otherwise not selling, or maybe there's a differentiation to them, then the idea here is to basically go into a broader category level and really understand where you can make your products visible. Now, when it comes to broader visibility, I feel something like an Instagram is a much better platform where you can target very specific audiences. When people come to Amazon, they come with an intent to buy. Normally, in my experience, with most categories that don't exist right now, and they have a, say, potential customer base, uh, they are more need based than they're aspirational based, normally speaking. So if they are need based, then you have to show that people need that product, one, in one way or the other. And the only way to do that is to be visible on other complementary categories, where you understand that for that specific customer, what all other items do they end up buying. if they are supposed to buy your item. And that behavior and the understanding of that behavior will really place you better to kind of target them in one way or the other and kind of create your own space on Amazon in a given timeline.
Brilliant. Perfect. I think we start on time, we end on time. It is 6:30, and we have wrapped up almost all the questions. Before parting, I would make a request to everyone, not an obligation, but we do try to create a lot of great content. I hope you enjoyed the content today. If you did, definitely feel free to give us a shout out on social media. That is how each eye runs. Most of their activities are pro bono, and so the sense of community is what brings all of us today. In a gathering, feel free to definitely put your bit into making these kind of content plays more helpful for everyone. And if you can give us a shout out, this is an each eye event, so please help us tag each eye Jatin Chaudhary, Shaival, who has been phenomenal today, Shaival's company Your Seller. I'm Srijay. I represent Legal Ways and Hire for Hire Consulting. Thank you so much for being with us. Please do consider to give us a shout out on social media, encourage us to bring more helpful content in the future. Thank you so much for having us today. Have fun, keep growing, and keep making money. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you.